want to focus this on a bit more futures. I think some of the things that have been released, hopefully you're aware of. If not, we can get you that information. I wanted this to be a little bit more visionary. Of course, I've got my disclaimer statements because we're talking about futures, and so there's dates in here, and things can change. So foundation for some of the work that we're doing is really around this investment of the IoT. Watson IoT, the business unit that we're a part of, and the platform that's being built to support connecting those devices. As a general definition, I think we look towards a more industrial Internet of Things definition from our analysts. These devices have been around for a long time. We talk about them in a personal sense with everyone wearing Fitbits, and your cars are connected, and you've got Nest thermostats at home that you can control from your cell phone, right? Those are all examples of IoT. But as we see this becoming even more affordable, more prevalent, it extends into the business world. And that's what we're trying to help support, bringing that information and bringing it into your Maximo world specifically to help improve your maintenance processes. There's lots of outcomes here, aside from our primary objectives of why we all use Maximo and are focused on asset management, but continuing to drive operational performance, trying to bring some improved user experiences, customer experiences, by providing greater visibility to data. I'll talk a little bit about some of the investments we're making in our user, the user interface with some new technologies. So bringing that forward as well. Being able to collect institutional knowledge, being able to have all of that information brought together with that real-time data to accelerate, your processes. Of course, looking at other industry transformation, environmental leadership, we're looking at some new business models and trying to help our customers think about new revenue streams, new things that they can do in their industries that they might not have thought of. So as you hear from other groups, at a higher level in IBM and how we're helping support this whole stack here within our business unit, that collection of information through the IoT platform from different sources, being able to filter and flatten and sort that data, have a nice data repository, apply some business rules there, set some notifications, right? There's a lot of capabilities on the platform, and then connecting that information to our solutions. So Maximo, Tririga, some new work that we're doing around health and safety, connected products, and then some of the industry solutions that we're looking at, IoT for electronics, IoT for automotive, and this is where we start getting into those new business models. So you'll see the investment across the board there. We're going to focus, of course, on the Maximo specific roadmap. So it all really comes back to some of our core value propositions we've been supporting for many years. And I think this messaging is really just a continuation of what we've been talking about with instrumented and connected and intelligent, right? We've had some of this smart messaging. So over the years, it's really just evolved. And it all comes back to what we've been talking about, making sure you can reduce your unplanned downtime, making sure that you can control your costs, that you understand your labor resource requirements, that you're managing your inventory spares properly and don't have a lot of dead stock sitting around. And more recently expanding into health and safety risk issues across the organization. So how can we really help with that with some of the new technology and the new information that we have available to us? So this is an example of technology that's available today. The real-time insights as a offering on the IoT platform, being able to collect information from a device, being able to store it and filter it and apply some business rules to that information in the IoT platform, and trigger actions off of that information. It could be through a dashboard that's provided by the platform, or it could be pushed directly into Maximo. So I think as we talk about use cases like this, people are starting to explore the capabilities that are out there today. You can go out and look at Bluemix, you can get accounts to the IoT platform, you can quickly connect devices. There's videos that you can look at on how you can connect your cell phone in 3 minutes and understand the rotation, and when you shake your phone, it'll tell you, it'll recognize that, right, and show you the patterns of that shaking. So if you start to extend that into a business context, what can I do with that now? And one of the areas that you'll see some new solutions that we're looking at are really around the personal health and safety. So if your phone is shaking or it's been dropped, if it's on your person, that might indicate some issue with that person's safety, their situation, if they're in a risky situation. So I encourage people to go and look at this. I think that there's always this fine line between the marketing spiel of some of this and the reality of it, and this is now reality. So I do encourage people to take a look. Okay, so digging into the Maximo portfolio as we all know it, and I'll talk about some of the areas where we're extending, some things that have recently been released. You all know our core solution, so Maximo 7.6, released in December of 2014. Seems like just yesterday, but it's been a while now that it's been out. How many people in the room are on 7.6? Great, a bunch. And how many people that aren't are thinking about it or have it on their plans? Okay, that's good. So, we continue to release feature packs. We'll get into the delivery model there, where we're trying to provide incremental functionality on that 7.6 release quickly and easily consumable way. We've extended our SaaS portfolio as well. So as we see more and more of our customers interested in that moving to the cloud and the options that we have, sort of our standard offering was the first that became available, which is just Maximo as we know today, with a subscription price. We can have concurrent or authorized users. We also have calibration, scheduler, mobile, and are continuing to release some of the industry solutions and add-ons on that offering. We also have extended, kind of on both sides of the spectrum, a fundamentals offering for some of our smaller customers who have maybe 10 users, a simple implementation, not as much configuration or customization. There's some out-of-the-box templates. We have some start centers and things that can help you accelerate that time to value and that implementation time. And we're taking advantage of our multi-tenant architecture of Maximo to do that. So that helps also with the cost, reducing the cost of the hosting of that. On the other end of the spectrum is a flex offering. So as we know, most of our customers have very large implementations and want to employ third-party business partner solutions or other solutions. Have lots of integration, we have lots of customizations, configurations, and want more access, direct access to the database of the environment. So there's a lot more control that can be offered to the customer with that flex offering. So we cover that full spectrum. Continuing to invest across the industry solutions, we have aviation is a relatively new industry solution, so we continue to expand there. We've had many releases. It's really bringing together the best of some of our other solutions, so transportation, service provider, scheduler, and ACM, the Asset Configuration Manager. So you'll see whenever aviation is released, all of those other pieces also end up in that same cycle. So if you're using any of those components, there's also a lot of advantages, a lot of new capabilities that you can take advantage of. The other new, we've talked about it here this week a couple of times. Shad, we're now a reseller of the mobile SCADA solution that Shad provides. So IBM sellers can offer that to you. We see it as a great entry point into this IoT world, being able to bring that SCADA data into your Maximo environment and processes. Simplifying our mobile strategy, so just a single mobile offering. Every place is now available as part of the core, so you don't need separate licensing for that connected mobile solution. And we are no longer we're still supporting, but no longer investing in the Maximo mobile suite. So there were a number of Maximo mobile inventory work, asset management, calibration. Now just focusing on the mobile first platform and trying to accelerate the delivery of applications you'll see through the ISM library download. So as soon as they're available, we post them out there, you can get access to them. You don't have to wait for that full IBM release cycle process. There are some other items out in the library to download as well. These are no charge items, and there's lots of stuff besides the one I mentioned here. So we don't give a lot away for free, so you should go and take advantage of it. BIM integrations with building information modeling, bringing in COBie spreadsheet data that you can download from Autodesk. You can create your asset hierarchies and location hierarchies, so there's a data aspect to that integration, as well as using the visualization tool from Autodesk to view those assets in a 3D model right within the Maximo frame. So that's something you might want to take a look at. And then the equity integration, which is really for healthcare validation, if that's relevant. So it sounds like many of you have already moved to 7.6 are already looking to do that. We've seen a lot of people want to take advantage of the Cognos reporting license that's now part of the Maximo entitlement, and we're updating this to 11, right, in the current feature pack or the next one. So we're trying to keep current with the Cognos available version. I should update that. And some new capabilities. But I think the maybe most compelling reason to move to 7.6 is that we are getting ready to announce end of support for 7.5. So that has been out since 2011, and we are tentatively looking at an April of 2017 announcement for a September 2018 effective date. So that gives you, this would be your good 2 years notice. So it's not going to happen instantaneously, but it is on the horizon. Okay, so here's the eye charts, and I won't go through every detail here, and you'll have access to these. This one really was just to kind of show the continued investment and the frequency of releases that we have. You can see across the top, SAS gets continually updated, and then the aviation release, which has, a cadence here of additional functionality, as well as the rest of the portfolio. Anywhere took a little bit of time, I think, to get up and running. So we spent a lot of time on the platform. The whole disconnected mode was a challenge. But now we're sort of accelerating the delivery of applications. So you can see even in the 2015 time period, expanding the work management, getting into asset management, all of the supply chain areas, issues and returns and receiving, inspections, asset audits, as well as calibration, and then continue to enhance the platform. I think I've got another slide on some of this detail, but it will go across, applications that we've delivered a number of them, as well as the platform features. Planned on the mobile side is some additional calibration work, extending some of the industry solutions. So we had our first oil and gas industry solution release of mobile with the incident reporting, so related to HS&E, and each of the industry solutions will have their own roadmap. But a big piece of it is around the mapping enhancements. So you'll also see in core the work that we're doing with spatial and linear and bringing those solutions together and bringing it to the mobile device, and really under an umbrella we're calling location-based services. So being able to do a lot more interaction with the map and the assets, whether they're point assets or linear assets, through the mobile device. We also did a little refresh of the UI. So, Anywhere's been now around for a couple of years as well. So this is something we don't want to lose sight of, and we want to keep that refreshed and get feedback from our users and make modifications. And always staying up with the currency of the devices themselves and the operating systems, something that we do across the board. Okay, so kind of big picture, what are some of the focus areas? I just mentioned the location-based services, so you'll see a number of releases in that area that includes the utilities industry solution and spatial, bringing in linear, as well as how it reacts on the mobile device. We're going to talk a bunch about this Asset Health Insights, which is really our first connected solution to the IoT platform, bringing in real-time data, being able to provide for a reliability engineer some health scores of their assets and the asset hierarchy. We've gotten our first release out last week that introduced some new work centers, where we're providing with a new technology, a new way to interact with Maximo. So we've got a couple of personas that we focused on. We're really using a responsive technology, looking at Google Palm or HTML5. And you'll see that as we look at new solutions like Asset Health, the primary interface will be through those work centers. And I'll get into some of that detail. We've got pretty robust feature pack roadmap as well. So not delivering just fixes in this regularly delivered 7.6.0 next, but also some functionality. Make sure we've got everything up to 7.6. I think we've just got nuclear left at this point. We did make, Weather Company is now an IBM business, so we have access to weather data. We're bringing into some of our scenarios with Scheduler, with Asset Health Insights, and with some of the new work centers being able to have access to that weather information. And then looking out the Watson Analytics, if anyone went to Pam's session earlier, our integration, being able to push Maximo data out and analyze it with the tools that Watson provides. Asset Health Worker Process Safety. I don't think that's the final approved name, but somewhere in there we'll come up with a name for that product that is really about wearables and connecting the risk of the worker and the situation that they're in and monitoring their condition in that situation. And then, as we talk about the UI, there's a lot of visualization aspects of that we're looking at. I mentioned BIM earlier, but there's kind of a general requirement of inside the building navigation. Where we get that technology is still being worked out, but we do have the requirement across the board. So I'm going to use the eye chart a little bit as a table of contents, as an agenda for us today. So we'll talk a bit. I kind of covered SaaS, but there's one slide in here. We'll go through the detail of the feature pack. 7.6.05 just came out. We talk about Scheduler, the investment that we've been making there, primarily around the interface, the applet removal. So there's a couple places in Maximo where we were applet dependent and the browsers are discontinuing support. So that was a major investment on the visual side of Scheduler. But looking forward to a new offering, Scheduler Plus, that will extend some of the core capabilities and introduce some weather-related scenarios. And then the Asset Health Insights, our first connectivity to the IoT platform that's scheduled for the July timeframe. And we'll take a closer look at that. There should be some enablement coming up over the next couple of weeks where you can really learn about the capabilities there. HS&E, so we did have that incident reporter, the mobile app. They've done a lot of work in the core applications as well. I think it was back towards the end of 2015, I think it fell off this roadmap, but really looking at the flow of the usability, and they reworked some of the screens. But there is a roadmap for those solutions, and then we look into that worker safety piece where we've got the wearables. If you were at Interconnect this year, they have a demonstration on the floor of the dummy that was made up in all the devices, and you had to try to knock them out and see if you can get the devices to respond. And then there's just a bit more on the location-based services if we get to it, so I kind of put that last. I don't want to keep you guys late. And then we've got the 7.6 for nuclear. So again, we'll use this as an agenda. So starting at the top, we'll go through the feature packs and the SaaS. So I did mention sort of the full spectrum of complexity and a number of configurations, customizations that you might need to make. We've got offerings on both ends of that spectrum. So fundamentals and Flex are both new. If you're interested in those, I can take you through some of the details, but I think some of the options for having a subscription-based offering and also outsourcing some of the IT responsibility, leave it up to us to apply the fixed packs when they're available for consumption. I can take you through any of that in more detail if you like. Okay, so this one, a lot of detail here, and you can see there's represented what we're delivering in some of these feature packs, both fixes, right? So it'll include the cumulative 8 parts, typical fixed packs, but there's also customer enhancements, there's functional items, there's technical items. So we've got kind of a whole representation. So things technical like SAML authentication, which half of these I'm not going to be able to go into any amount of detail. So You may know what they are. We can get you someone technical to talk about it, but you know, we get these kinds of enhancements that we need to address. But functional things like depreciation schedules, so this is something that we had offered in our transportation industry solution for many years and recognize that it's capabilities that can be used across industries. So we brought that capability to core in the feature pack delivered back in December. Moving out to March, so I mentioned this applet replacement. So there are several places in Maximo, direct print being one of them, the scheduler, which will have its own roadmap, workflow canvas, the linear topology viewer, places that we depend on those applets. We started with direct print, it affects the most users, so that one was made available in March. You'll see that we've got the workflow and the full applet replacement out for the end of this year. The scheduler's release will be this month with that new UI. Some customer enhancements like downloading a result set from the Start Center. It seems like a simple thing, but one of our #1 enhancement requests, so we want to be able to respond to some of those. Some technical foundation items like federated NABO support. So this will help support some of these IoT scenarios. It'll help support the weather scenarios. So this allows us to display and include external data in Maximo processes without actually replicating it in our database. So I can treat it just like another Mabo in Maximo. I can include it in my workflow logic, in my escalations, in my scripting, but I don't actually have to store it within my Maximo content and display it within the UI. So that's some kind of cool stuff. We had our first introduction of this Watson Ready file export. So Watson really consumes a flat CSV file from Maximo. It's not that easy to get that information. You've really got to have a good understanding of our object structures and relationships. So we were providing some capability in March, but even further in June, and we'll show you the different data sets that we made available for some of the typical things you might want to analyze. Certifications, won't go through those, right? Those come up every time. So moving on to this last drop, June 23rd. So work centers, talking about this new responsive perceptive UI, touch-enabled, all the things that we have come to expect in our everyday use of devices. So we focused on a couple of personas. So an analyst, so to support some of the Watson integration, and then a technician and a supervisor. And I'll talk a little bit more about it. This is, not something you have to use. It is our first delivery of this, so by no means is this do everything that you would think, that you can do today in Maximo. But we will get there, and we want to get something out. We want to get some feedback. We want you to start looking at it and working with us so we can prioritize the huge list of things that you can do in Maximo, what needs to be in this new interface. So I mentioned the Cognos 11 support, so we'll continue to look at keeping that up to speed, some more technical items, DB2 password change, downtime issues, some myth authorization, some more kind of buggy enhancements, like a fine line there, right? Time zones, calculations. One I'll call out here, knowledge center. Does anyone customize their own help using Eclipse? Nope. Okay, then doesn't matter. We're going to stop supporting that Eclipse tool. We're going to move everything into Gabian Knowledge Center. That's how you get your help online. And if you want, you can have a local copy of that and you can modify yourself. But we're just changing tools. And then looking forward. So, the rest of those applet replacements, and then additional work centers. This list will blow out pretty quick as we are, just wrapping up the last one and prioritizing the next one. I will mention the license tracking features. It's come up a couple of times this week in different conversations, how we can better help you understand your usage and compare it to what you are actually entitled to. So some new applications, reports, cron tasks, so that will be available. And this is the October time frame of this year. Okay, so that was a lot. Depreciation, just wanted to throw one slide in here so you can take a look at it. Just looking at the different methodologies that are there, that there's some very robust capabilities around how you can do your depreciation for your assets, and that's now available in core, so you don't need the transportation license any longer to get your hands on that. All right, design. So, we always focus on the look and feel of Maximo, and if you look over past years, we've got different skins, and we introduce new things in 7.6, and side navigation, and we try to clean up colors. It's not that this is a brand new thing that, oh, geez, maybe we should think about UI. This was driven also a lot by the technology. So, the whole responsive, I want to be in a tablet, I want the thing to react to a touch screen, I want to swipe it, and stateless. So sort of this technical discussion of how do I communicate between the presentation layer and the back end of Maximo. We seem to be very chatty today. We go back and forth a lot when we present sets of data. So in a hosting model, if anyone's trying to use Amazon Cloud Services, for example, every time you do that, it's going to cost more money. So some of those things are driving some of the changes. And don't want to forget about all the usability enhancements that we've had over the years about how table windows react, or how I manage my queries, or how do I search for things. So making sure that we've got full visibility. So here's an example, the first couple that we have, and I have a more zoomed in screenshot so you can take a look, but some KPI information across the top, cards of data that are very visual, very colorful, have a lot of indicators, can do more than just present flat data. We want to be able to help lead you in a direction, point out things that need your attention, call out what actions I might want to take and what kind of information do I need to make that decision. So they'll be available in the 7.6 feature packs. They're not separately chargeable. It's an option whether you want to use these or deploy these to your end users. You set it up through security. You would grant them access rights to it if you like. If you think that user can take advantage of these, or you might want to hand select a small group of users as a test bed. We would love to hear your feedback as we continue to prioritize. We're looking at self-service requesters and inspections and more things for the analyst, expanding the supervisor role. Right, there's 140 plus applications in Maximo, and we're not really even taking the approach of saying, let's take work orders and put it in this new UI. We're going to say, okay, what do people do in work orders? There's dozens of roles of people that are in that app. So let's find a process and support that process end to end in a new way. So here's a little bit more zoomed in. You can see we do have local weather, so we have support for those APIs. You can bring that information in. We have some nice sort of trending right in your face. Work completed on time, PM's overdue, with kind of the arrows that tell you if it's trending the right way, the wrong way, or steady. Bringing more information. So these are actually red. So there's some color coding that goes along with your priorities. Maybe giving more information. If I'm trying to close work orders, can I actually summarize some of the data that's there? Did they actually put in the right actuals? Did they match the plans? That might help me make a decision without having to dig into all of that individually. So there is, that's the supervisor example, and then there's others as well. So you'll see them as we move forward through some of these other topics as well, as we talk about the Watson Analytics and we talk about asset health. They will be using that new technology as well. Okay, so we did just do a whole session on the Watson piece, but I think it's really great that we can take advantage of the powerful analytic capabilities from other groups in IBM. There's a number of different capabilities available today. I think even just getting the data quality, being able to export your Maximo data into a CSV and import it into Watson and have it grade your data and point out where you're missing things, where there's inconsistent data, where you might have required fields that are blank. It might be able to focus you on introducing a new process in Maximo to help remediate that. If I'm going to really do some good exploration here and get some good dashboards and some good information, help me understand, you know, the quality of my data to start. So once I have that good data, using natural language, it can present to you questions. Watson can say, oh, maybe you should take a look at, you know, location, values of location for fail date, or I want to look at total downtime and year-to-date costs by site, right? Because I can see some correlation there. Maybe you don't see it, but it would be worth exploring. Now I've got some information that, geez, that's interesting. I don't know why this is so high at this site. I should probably look into that. I want to assemble this into a dashboard that I can share with my colleagues, that I can share with my management, that maybe I go back and look at regularly to see if, is this going down, or the rest of them going up, or are we actually making an improvement here? And getting into prediction. So once I've got good data, I can understand the influencers between those data points. And if you saw the demonstration, it's just such a nice UI. It's very fast, it's very responsive, it's fun to use. So there's training out there. It's a cloud-based subscription service, so you will need to have, like the highest level, the professional level is like $80 a month, so pretty affordable. There is a free trial, so if you want to just sort of get your feet wet and see how it works, and it doesn't have to be Maximo data, and it doesn't have to be Maximo 7.6 data. It doesn't care what version of Maximo you're on, and it could be from different sources too. I might want to bring together some different information that I have across my organization and push it in here in a CSV and see what it comes up with. So what are we doing on the Maximo side? So I mentioned, you know, we really know our object structures. So you've got to get that data, that CSV file has to be provided to Watson. So we want to put those data sets together and include things like non-persistent values, calculated values, flatten that data out and provide that automatic upload to Watson. There's some future items here, being able to have our templates and storyboards, so we also want to provide those in a future feature pack. But in the one that just came out, we do have a work center for the analyst. Again, some trending information across the top, some weather data, but we have the analytic library. So I do have, God, it's really hard to read, isn't it? So asset failure, failure reporting, inventory, balances, labor analysis, material, stockouts, purchasing spend, and work schedule compliance, right? So those are some areas that we think are going to be typical. You're going to want to take a look at that from a Maximo perspective and download that CSV file. We've already assembled the right things together and provided some new KPIs and graphs, analytics of our own as part of this work center. So again, 7605 came out last week. You can get access to this. And there's the detail of some of the first seven data sets that we provided. You can export it directly if you've got your Watson account set up, or you can just download it to a CSV. So there could be some value in this even without a Watson account, that you can just take a look at that data on your own. So I recommend the Watson way, but there are options. All right, next, Scheduler. So if you haven't taken a look at Scheduler in a while, it's this latest version that came out is worth exploring. So the applet replacement really allowed us to provide a lot of usability enhancements. It's got kind of a new look and feel. There's some new control, a lot of drag and drop. There's undos. There's blocking of time periods so you don't end up messing up when you shift things around. And then we're going to get into the Scheduler Plus. So, you know, the Scheduler tool has evolved over several years across the entire spectrum of from understanding the emergency work that comes in, from my PM work, short-term, long-term, to understanding asset availability and resource availability, to doing the scheduling and then dispatching that work out. So looking across a whole geography, including maps, understanding people's locations, it's really expanded that way. So optionally a separate component for the optimization engine. So that can do some of the suggested schedules for you. It can go and look at all of that data, my calendars, my availability, the work that I have that's coming up, the must start no later than, end no later than, right? All the constraints and rules that are between those work orders, and suggest a schedule for you. You can accept it or not, or modify it, but that optimization engine can do a lot of that heavy lifting for you. So what's next is to bring in some of the weather information into that scheduling view. So especially for our geographically dispersed assets, there's can be a condition that you might want to associate with the asset itself. So if I need to go up on a cell tower, I need to make sure that the wind isn't higher than some number of knots. Or if I'm doing outdoor work, there might be a temperature constraint. So those are things that are hard and fast associated with the asset, but then there's also kind of understanding it from a scheduling perspective. So this really does start to get us into more workforce management with appointment scheduling capabilities. So when I want to look out and do I want to schedule this outdoor person that I need to go and do some work on their meter or something on the street, there's an 80% chance of thunderstorms Thursday afternoon. I'm not going to schedule it then. I'm going to look for Friday, or I'm going to reschedule. There's also some other capabilities. So it's not just all about weather, but being able to manage dependencies across work order and tasks, some enhancements that we've had, and then some of the dispatching capabilities, bringing in traffic conditions and other layers of data on those maps. And all kinds of
the dependencies, they were already there. What's going to be good about the dependencies?
Tasks. I think it's at the task level. Resource level? I'm gonna have to ask Nicole. Sorry, I was just trying to see if it was here. So there's something here about link across work orders and tasks and the per chart. I know this is one of our, there's also sort of the backwards passing and critical path. You can read this as easily as I can. Just to show though that, again, it's not just weather. It's bringing qualifications, bringing in those dependencies, and there's always sort of a performance view across the several releases that will be available for Scheduler Plus. All right, Asset Health Insights. Q3, so next month sometime, we hope. So bringing in, we're back to our, platform diagram, and we'll see it again. But really getting into this reliability person who can understand, this is not as much today about prediction, but being able to notify when, it's a little bit of prediction, so I want to notify when I reach a certain condition. We do some of that today, but the delay in getting the data can prevent that from being really effective. So if I've got vibration analysis, and I don't want to look at just one point. I want to understand the vibration, the throughput, the temperature, and the outside humidity all have an impact on how this asset behaves. And I might want to send someone out today rather than when I get it's a down message. Right? So how are we going to help do that? Collect the data, first of all, can come from a number of different sources, inside, outside Maximo. Raw data, spreadsheets, sensor data, any kind of IoT-enabled application. I bring it into the platform. We talked about, filtering and rules applied. So it's also a data repository. I don't want all this data necessarily in Maximo. It can be a lot of junk. So we only want to take what's important and what's impactful and is going to add to my analysis of the health of my assets. A big piece of this is the methodology, is the scoring methodology. So there are formulas in here that you can create and weigh the importance of certain factors on the overall health score. So remaining useful life, maintenance history, some inspection data, run hours. I can look across the whole asset hierarchy as well. I can understand the health of an individual component and then how that contributes to the overall health of the parent. Once I get some kind of score, I want to normalize that so I can make some kind of apples to apples comparison across my whole portfolio. I want to make sure that they are comparable. And then we get to, once I've got that score, now I can start making some decisions. So we are doing all of this today. I think the one thing, this is R2, is now I've got this data, the what if scenario to say my overall health score is 60 of this pump, and it's made up of all these components, and the filters at 10 and the motors at 30. If I replace the motor, will it change the overall score? If I replace both things, will it change the overall score? Should I just plan on replacing this? Do I just budget out to end of life this and buy a new one? Right, so those kinds of decisions using this information. Also this subscription to warnings and notifications. So when we look at this data, and I've got some thresholds that I've set as far as when I want to be informed that something is needs my attention. So here's our example work center. We've got some assets with devices. So right from within one of these menus over here, I can connect my assets to the IoT platform. I've got a direct link into that account. I've got 10 assets with devices, so those are things that I'm monitoring real time. We've got some new terminology here, bad actors. So which of my assets are underperforming, which of them have very poor health scores. And then the list of those assets, and there'll be some kind of asset health score here. Yeah, there's always an unknown. There's always an issue with demo data, right? We'll have to get that a little bit cleaner. But I can drill in now, so I can look at this asset detail. And what I really wanted to show was sort of this driver value. So these are engineers. It's a little bit, they love the math, right? And they want to be exposed to math. They want to understand. I don't think you can probably read this from back there, but remaining useful life, calculated percentage of remaining useful life. The value is something, and the formula is this. And the driver value is 4.4 with a weight of 0.5. So I know how that contributes to my overall score. I also have a view into sort of the historical data. So this one is temperature in Fahrenheit. And so these are my upper warnings, lower actions, upper actions. So I can see where I fall. And these are vibrations. So same thing. So start to be able to present to that end user a lot of information that they didn't necessarily have at their fingertips previously. All right, so questions, anything on that? Like I said, there'll be a lot of recordings and enablement and information coming out on this. This is a 7 on top of 7.6 kind of add-on. It will have its own licensing as well as an IoT platform subscription requirement. Okay, oil and gas, safety. Oh, I missed the incident recorder app here. I really want to kind of get to the worker safety. Is anyone in here using the HSV modules? So I like to expose this. I feel like it's something that we, as we do in a lot of places, recognize in our portfolio, came out of our oil and gas industry solution that was more than just oil and gas specific. It's the ability to track incidents, do risk matrices, change management within your organization, permitting. There's a lot of capabilities, and it really is important to all organizations, right? Everybody has a number of days without incidents that they track in their manufacturing site. They have statements about the compliance and risk assessments that they're doing internally. There's OSHA requirements and other places that you have to report that environmental information. So the capabilities, again, are very broad, and I don't want you to be intimidated by the amount of capabilities, but it's something you don't have to take on the whole thing at once. So I try to encourage people to, maybe there's one thing I think I could really take advantage of and do better in my organization, like track certifications, or even just do incident management. A lot of people are, not doing a very good job of permitting. So there's just, there's certain areas that it might be worth just looking at that one sort of piece, and being able to do that. So as we look out at the worker and process safety, it's kind of building on this foundation, but really being able to take in the information from wearable devices, like just your movement in general, heart rate, body temperature, GPS information. So we haven't forgotten about the personal information aspect of this, right? We can't publish your what your heart rate should be or shouldn't be. We want to normalize this on a scale, but tying it back into those job plans and assignments that you have, when we know that you're in a risky situation, we probably want to monitor you more closely, right? Understand if you've been outside for too long, if your body temperature is too high, if something falls from a great distance, and if your hard hat hits at a certain velocity, to make sure that we reach out to that person and make sure that they're okay. So this has been prototyped. You see some of the dashboards that are shown here. They did some work in a POC. So we're working now at building out the plans to bring this into Core Maximo. You can collect all kinds of information from some of these devices now, and lots of alerts and understanding, notifications to nearby people, to emergency response teams, to make sure that those people are safe. Okay, we're getting towards the end. Spatial utilities, linear. So this comes back to our location-based services. I might just get our nuclear 7.6 out there. So the spatial release that came out back in March is using the new Esri technology. They've got some better synchronization between Maximo and the ArcGIS. We're normalizing single map control. So if anyone was using in 7.6, one of the new features was the service address is now available for locations and assets and work orders. So I was kind of surprised to hear how many people were excited about that, and they started using it right away, and it's really helped them. And they can bring in their own map service, Google Map or Bing Map service, and start showing work orders and assets on a map. But we had that map, and we had the spatial map, and so there was some work that needed to be done there. And then bringing in linear. So we've never really done a good job of supporting linear assets. We have point assets on those maps. So just being able to update creatively, displaying them, adding some additional layers, traffic, weather, and then bringing that all to the mobile device. Some other enhancements on utilities around CUE and a new interface for that, and then bringing nuclear up to 7.6. So
by new interface for CUE.
I don't have the details on what kind of graphical view they want for CUEs. I can get more information though.
It's a big email.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get some information for you. So I think that I've said all of these things, but updating to the latest technology, bringing them together, being able to make better decisions based on that map data. I think that it's becoming more prevalent. Spatial is such a specialized thing for certain industries for so long, like utilities, and now it's expanding quite a lot. I included resource slides. Hopefully you guys are involved in the IBM-sponsored communities, the Service Management Connect. You're aware of the free training that's recently available. So at IoT Academy, you can go and do self-paced online courses, free, again, F word, they don't like using F word, but they're across, so you can get IoT platform, asset management, facilities management, the Trinity portfolio, continuous engineering. There's a whole set of courses here targeted at different types of users, administrators, end users, etc. Some really good work going on there. And then just sort of our usual kind of LinkedIn and forums and blogs, and I know just look for Pam. She's a pretty big contributing to all this stuff. I am not as good. Okay. That's pretty good. 5 minutes to spare. Yes.
Is the plan still to, use support for the logic in 7 6? Is that
Yes.
happening?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you have any specific info on why you got the integrated with maximum background or any?
Well, we have the 7.5 integration that we did for Trinity Maximo for work orders or moves, space moves. But we haven't brought it forward. We really haven't seen the demand yet for it. So that code's there. I guess we'll wait. Is it, something that you're looking into? But right now, there are currently nothing committed.
So it's gonna be 2 separate applications as such.
Yes. Yep.
The direct print applet replacement, has that, do you have any feedback on that? Is that working well? Is that
I haven't heard
problematic?
anything one way or the other. Have you heard anything back from direct print applet replacement, Pam? On whether it's working well or not working well, or?
Depends on the browser you're using, it'll work differently if Chrome, IE, or Firefox, so I would recommend that you look at the interaction and all of the browsers and see what works best for you. You also have the ability to download it, something you never had before, so you're automatically printed, you can download the content and save it, so that Word and everything happens.
Our company moved us to using the IE11.
Okay. Yes.
Is there any discussion about HSE becoming part of core?
Any discussion about HSE becoming part of core? No. Sorry. All those 27 applications, not a moment.